YouTube! What the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and no, I'm not sick. It's just springtime, that wonderful time of year where, regardless of what concoction of medications I take, sometimes Mother Nature does her best to annoy me, and today is one of those days in which she's winning. But that's okay, I'll get her back. I've been looking to dump some radioactive sludge somewhere, so I figured now's as good a time as any. But in any case, let's get some stuff started here. So we're going to take a look at an online battle. And this is actually myself playing the second battle against Chadney. The last time I played against him was this one here, where I played as Carthage and he was playing as Syracuse. So we had a second battle, and this was all in quick battle, by the way. We got matched against each other twice in a row. And this time I decided to play as Lusitani, and he picked the Romans. And see, I have 4 guerrilla warriors, which are deploy anywhere spear units, and then I have 6 veteran shield warriors, which are a very powerful sword unit for the price. I think at 80 or 800 is their cost, and they pack like 50-something attack. They're not a formation attack unit, but they are powerful. The Lusitani suffer in cav, as Scutari cav is their best, and it's really not very good. The Lusitani really are going to do well with swords, where they have Lusitani nobles, and their spears aren't too bad because they have the guerrilla spearmen, which are actually quite helpful in a cav fight. They're just somewhat weak to missiles. And what I did was I started some of them out here up on top of this hill to try and support a cav fight. So basically just kept them hidden to where they can hopefully pounce down on this Roman cav that I'm going to try and lure into a fight with my Scutari cav, because theoretically this Roman cav should be able to beat it down. These Equites Extraordinari would probably have a tougher time, but I think they could still probably get the job done if they got a good charge. So I do go ahead and take the better position on the hill before I charge. This is something that Chadney should have avoided. Don't allow an engagement to be started like this whenever you're going to lose the terrain, because the terrain makes a big difference. And you can see his men did win the charge, but slowly I'm guessing this fight will turn to my favor. And over here it'll probably turn to my favor as well. His cavalry is just better. His auxiliary cav is winning that, even me fighting downhill, and his Equites Extraordinari were actually winning that. But he's going to have to disengage because I'm bringing in spear support, but this is where it's going to cost him. Even though he disengages, I continue to push, and he's going to lose cavalrymen all the way down the hill. Now, whether this was a mistake or not, I think remains to be seen. But honestly, I think that it was actually a decent thing to do. It's just that if I were him and I were going to do it, I would have left one cav unit while I tried to disengage another. And I think his auxiliary cav would have been better worth saving. But both of his cavalry are going to take a pretty substantial beating from having had to pull away from my own. But I think the biggest ticket there is just to not overextend yourself. He was in a position where he really shouldn't have engaged. So I bring up my Iberian skirmishers here, which are just cheap javelin men, and I'm going to use them on his archers. I'm not really concerned about his legionary cohorts. If he had brought Evocati cohort, I would have used my skirmishers on his infantry. But since his infantry are pretty well evenly matched with my own, I decided to go ahead and make an engagement. So my men are at 50 attack, 39 weapon damage. So they're better than his, but his have probably better... I'm guessing his have, better armor for sure. Way better armor. And they're going to have formation attacks. So this will actually be a pretty close fight. A legionary cohort to a veteran shield warrior is a pretty close fight. But I've also got this Lusitani noble drilling in here, and these guys are some serious business. So in the sword fight, my guys will start off nice, but then start losing some men as that armor and melee defense plays in. But in the meantime, I've got my cavalry running around in the background, and then I've got my spears moving up on his flank. And out here, there's a cav engagement as well that's going in my favor temporarily. I had spear support there as well. He does move a Triarii to my flank, and this is a good move. Triarii, I should say. He's going to get an outflanking maneuver on these veteran shield warriors. Triarii are a very tough spear unit, very tough. And they can actually hold their own in a sword fight for a little while. But you can see that this line pretty evenly matched between his men and mine. The legionary cohort's getting outmatched by attack and weapon damage, but holding their ground due to the armor and formation attack. It's going to be a grind out, and my men are winning, but it's a close fight. And it's one that's more cost effective for him because the legionary cohorts are 700, whereas my veteran shield warriors that you can see here are 800 in cost. But right here is where I'm going to start to gain some advantage. His general is having to stop my Lusitani guerrillas, which is going to hurt him. And then here I've got this Triarii pinned down and outflanked. And then my Lusitani nobles are making a break, and then these guys on this flank have also made a break. So at this point, I can start to outmaneuver. Plus, I have Cav coming in from behind, and this is causing the morale of the legionaries to waver, basically. So he's going to lose his archers here, and his infantry is going to go ahead and rout. And my Lusitani forces are going to be victorious here. But, I mean, these Triarii, again, that's a tough unit. Look, it's the last unit left, and it's outflanked, and it's holding its own just fine. Especially against these light spear units. It would hold here for a long time. Even against swords, though, it would take them a little while to beat it down. So I think when you take a look at the army here, I honestly think that whether it appeared that way or not, my opponent did have some advantage with cavalry, in the sense that his are better quality than my Scutari Cav. His problem was going to be he needs to engage them in such a way that he gets an advantageous fight, and what he needed to do was keep his cavalry closer to his Triarii. So since he decided to spend the money on the Triarii, keep them close to your Cav, because that's where they excel. These are actually really, really good units at taking down Cav, because they're very heavily armored, and like I said, they can hold their own against swords. Now, the downside to Triarii is that they're quite expensive, so you have to make sure and use them properly. But again, they are a tough unit. It's not like Rome 1, where they're garbage against Cav and garbage against infantry. They're actually pretty good against both in this game. They're not good infantry, but they're pretty good infantry. Like, for instance, if you take a light swordsman against a Triarii, the Triarii will probably win because of its armor and melee defense and stuff. So it's a great unit in that sense. A lot of armor, and that's what makes it strong. Sorry for my voice. I sound even more nasally than usual because of these stupid allergies. But in any case, I hope you all enjoyed it. Good games to Chadney. Hopefully some advice that I gave you here would be helpful. I don't think that your army here was really poorly chosen. I just think that if you would have used your Triarii better where I was trying to use my Lusitani guerrillas, they could have held off my guerrillas while your Cav did some work on mine and potentially could have turned that Cav fight. Excuse me. I think where you're going to have trouble was where my Iberian skirmishers were putting a lot of hurt on your archers. But to be honest, if your archers could have focused some more shots in on my swordsmen that have low armor, which they did, that could have been a really bad news for me. So I think that if you would have pushed your advantage with the archers and used your Cav a little more carefully, that honestly would have been a pretty interesting fight. As far as you probably would have beat me, because my men here, you can see, even though they won some of those fights against the legionary cohorts, they took some considerable losses, and with a few good arrow shots, it could have been enough to turn the fight. But anyway, appreciate the games. Thanks for playing, and hope you all enjoyed these. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.